You've heard from Megan and Malcolm and Lucy about what impact it had on their lives. Well, of the Indigenous youth who came, 96% of them were in high school or had graduated. 69% were enrolled in college or university or had in fact graduated. And 38% were too young to actually enroll. So that's virtually everybody. The Indigenous youth who were now worked for their school boards, their band. One of them was actually working in a diamond mine, a fly-in diamond mine in the Northwest Territories. Okay, so I give you these numbers, but how do they compare? How did they compare? And so I used the benchmark, the 2021 census for Indigenous people. Okay, 96% of our youth, of Gibi's youth, were in high school or had graduated. The 2021 census says 74% of Indigenous people have completed high school. And although some youth left high school without graduating, since then, since I talked to them, many, like Chase, who came on the 2018 trip, and Jada, the girl who drove her sister, returned to school, completed, graduated, and are now in college and university, respectively. University of Saskatchewan this spring honored the 3 Woodward sisters. Let me tell you about them. All 3 of them came on the canoe trip, different years. All 3 of them are in the degree nursing program at University of Saskatchewan. It's great. Most Indigenous youth have taken on leadership roles. Some as part of the Gibimishkaadimin ladder of coming as a youth, then a leader in training, and then a program leader. And Will Miller, who came on the very first canoe trip in 2017, is now in charge. And he has recently, that is in September, been hired by the National Church to run the youth programs for the Indigenous Church. 2017 to now, he has also graduated from university and is now going to train to be a teacher. 5 of the Indigenous youth have served on the National Indigenous Council. That's the governing body, or was the governing body of the Indigenous Church. And this summer, 3 of Gibi's alumni led the youth programming at GC 45 in Calgary. So I'm not saying that because of Gibimishkaadimin, all of these wonderful results happened. That would be overstating. But what I do say is that Gibimishkaadimin has, through these 7 years, identified leaders, youth who are prepared to step forward and are now sufficiently confident that they have the skills to lead and are leading in this journey of reconciliation. So we did a survey again of the youth, and this is anecdotal but nonetheless kind of impressive. Each youth was asked the open-ended question, what did you learn from Gibimishkaadimin? Let me just read you the top answers. It helped me explore my Indigenous roots, my culture, Indigenous issues. It gave me leadership skills and confidence in my skills. I learned that my world is bigger than just my reserve. The diversity of Indigenous peoples and cultures across Canada. I met my first Inuk. I was exposed to many different Indigenous traditions and cultures. I'm now less shy, and I'm able to bond with other people. And to make friends. I now know how to get out of my comfort zone and how to self-sustain. I learned to value life, to appreciate those around me, and to be open to learn and to do new things, to be myself. I learned what truth and reconciliation mean and how to travel together. The youth were asked, what's the impact? What's been the impact of Gibimishkaadimin on your life? And these are the answers from the Indigenous youth. I made lifelong friends with Indigenous and non-Indigenous persons. I still talk to people from my trip. I reach out to them when I'm feeling down. I came out of my shell, out of my comfort zone. I became more social. I gained confidence in myself. I now have a feeling of hope. I am not alone. It was a difficult time in my life. I came on the trip beaten down. Gibimishkaadimin was a breath of fresh air. The weight of life at home lifted. Gibi changed my life in a good way and gave me hope for my future. And one youth said, I decided to live. This has also been an amazing bonus for the three communities of faith. Working in partnership, true partnership, with Fairlawn, Rosedale, and Bloor Street, developed friendships with Esther Ewing, Philip Blatchard, Sandy Giles, Erica Boone, and John Robertson. This isn't done so often in the United Church. We're awfully parochial, like I'm going to do it, it's mine, etc. And this is one example, I think, where the program was much richer, much more fun, much less of a burden, because we shared. And as a result, all three communities of faith have benefited. Now, what about today? I'm in my 80th year. I said that before. And my husband said to me, okay, enough. We cannot continue at this level. You cannot continue at this level of engagement. And it was to be a pilot project. To be honest, the transition is bumpy. On April 16th, 2023, the National Indigenous Council made a resolution to take on Gibimishkaadimin, to fold it into the programs of the Indigenous Church. Well, that hasn't worked out all that well. The first year, it was under the supervision, the direction of the Indigenous Church. And then they said, no, we actually don't think that reconciliation is our job. We're an Indigenous church. Reconciliation, they said, is your job, which I don't agree with, but that's their position. And so this year, it became part of the general program for youth and young adults, which sort of gets lost in the way. We have enough energy and enough money to call everyone together for a reunion in the winter. But our real task now is, how do we make this continue? Is it a question of increasing political will so that the national church takes this project on? Is it a matter of fundraising so that they can't say no because of lack of money? Or is it time to begin to look in the wider world for another sponsor, another entity, another organization that is prepared, works on reconciliation with youth, and would like to take this well-established program on? I began by saying Samuel didn't recognize that God was calling. I think God is calling us to do this project and continue this project of reconciliation. And I think that we need to say, here we are. Don't turn our back. Don't turn away. Thank you.
Beth, I get to thank you on our behalf for all of the work you've done. And it's a card, but there's also something in there that we hope is near and dear to your heart. And we thank you, and I thank all of you for being in the canoe. You didn't have to portage, you didn't have to strap on a tump line, you didn't have to worry about the lightning and the forest fires, but you traveled along with those young people. And so thank you for being part of that. And thank you for your leadership, Beth.
Thank you.
A week ago Saturday, I had a wedding here for a young couple, and he grew up in the Sunday school here for about a year. And they wanted to have their wedding in the church. The bride was from India, and lovely people. Her mom and her dad are Catholic. And so having it here instead of their backyard was a bit of a compromise. And I said, what else can I do to help you with this? And she said, could you wear a collar? I said, sure, I can wear a collar for your mom. So I did. And on the way here, on that Saturday morning, I was driving up Black Creek Drive, and there's a lot of construction there, and it narrows to one lane. And everybody there is very aggressive. And this one fella pulled up right beside me. Everybody's, letting everybody else in, and this guy wasn't having any of that. He pulled up right beside me, and he was going to jam himself in front of me. And I would just kind of, you know what? You can come behind me. So I did not let him in the last meter of space before the barriers. I kept going. And of course, when we got through and it opened up to 2 lanes, he pulled up right beside me, and he rolled down his passenger window and he started swearing at me. I rolled down my window and I looked at him, and he saw the collar and he went, sorry, Father. On Tuesday this week, Many businesses and offices will be closed, including ours, and I hope that some people, instead of feeling this sense of inconvenience, will be stopped and do a reset and take just a moment to think about why the offices are closed. And perhaps some of us will get beyond inconvenience and acknowledge the true lie inherent in our declaration to the parents of the children we remember today. This will be good for them. For the best-intentioned church school leader, it was true, and for the children and their families, it was a lie. And we are in the midst of trying to rebuild broken trust. Those of us who have worked with survivors of abuse are aware it takes generations to eliminate the cycle of abuse. Research indicates it takes as many as 7 generations for abuse to work itself out of a family. So Maggie Dieter got it right. It is unlikely that you and I will see the effects of reconciliation, which means we should give up. Unless you're a student of Scripture, particularly the book of Jeremiah. And poor Jeremiah had this nickname, Terror All Around. He was humiliated, belittled for his changeless warnings. Change your ways or you will be conquered. The Babylonians will lay waste to Jerusalem. There will be terror all around. They laughed, they taunted, and when they couldn't stand it any longer, they threw him in a pit and dropped food and water to him occasionally. Later, showing some humanity, literally while the Babylonians are besieging the walls of Jerusalem, they hoisted him out, put him under house arrest, and they kept him there even when the food chain was cut off. His hometown, Anathoth, was in occupied territory, and in the midst of all this despair and destruction, Jeremiah receives a word from Yahweh, who comes to Jeremiah and says, your cousin is going to try and sell you the family farm in Anathoth. Buy it. The cousin, Hanamel, cannot work the land. He's destitute. He comes to Jeremiah, he asks him to buy the land from him. It's a fool's errand. Jeremiah is captive. He can't work the land even if there were no Babylonian army. And Hanamel comes to him and he says something like, I have a condo at Young and Bloor. Have I got a deal for you? It's not built yet. We're not sure if it's ever going to get finished. And Jeremiah buys the farm at market value. Not Babylonia is occupying this land market value, but what a farm would be worth when it was turning a profit. I would love to have seen the look on Hanimel's face when Jeremiah said, okay. Did he feel a little guilty for putting one over on his cousin? It was a stupid investment. And years before, this man Jeremiah had broken a clay jar in front of the religious and political leaders, saying, Yahweh was going to do the same thing to the city of Jerusalem. Break it if you do not repent and turn around. And now, the deed is signed, the money is exchanged, and the deed is put in a clay jar and sealed for posterity, because it will be opened years later to prove that Jeremiah's family owns the land. He declares, in a place where there is no hope, the land will be worth something again. Now the deal's done. Everybody goes home except Jeremiah, who is still under house arrest, and he prays. And he begins this wonderful confession of faith. Oh, Yahweh, all the wonderful things you have done. You have been faithful to us. Thank you so much, but wasn't buying the land a little much? How often have we echoed this question? How often have we confessed the Holy One's past faithfulness, offered prayers of thanksgiving, and then said, but? Work, school, change, family, they overwhelm us emotionally, spiritually, physically. We get it all at once, and we feel like we live in I don't know, Taiwan with a super typhoon pounding at our door. And the Holy One replies to Jeremiah, "You asked, is anything too hard for me?" Meaning nothing was. And you're right, nothing is too hard for me. The only thing impossible for the Holy One to overcome are the deaf ears of people who will not listen. And long after the death of Jeremiah, the land becomes valuable again. And who knows, maybe his extended family had the deed to a farm. Will our displaced Indigenous neighbors get justice? Will they, as they repeatedly ask us, get land back? Will the great-great-great-grandchildren of the survivors of the so-called residential school system thrive? I will make an everlasting covenant with them, says Yahweh, never to draw back from doing good to them. I will plant them in this land in faithfulness with all my heart and all my soul. Words for everyone who is dispossessed. So are we and our Indigenous neighbors capable of claiming a vision where we live together in peace, replanted on this land? The answer lies in our mutual willingness to patiently, respectfully, be reconciled today. To respond when the Holy One says to us, "Have I got a deal for you?" We have occasionally actually monthly, pretty much, in the past year, taken a few minutes to thank some folks in our midst who bring the light of the Christ candle to us. The candle is lit. We then have some candles that we give out to people. And today, last but not least, we are honoring the people. Well, it says EA, and I keep thinking that it's Explore Activism. That's not what it stands for. It means embrace action. But they not only hold up light for us, I think sometimes they hold our feet to the fire, and that's not a bad thing. So we're going to give candles out to the members of the committee that pulls it all together and anybody else that they've suggested we do this to. So Sandy and John are going to come up here and help me give out some candles. Now, I always feel like a magician when I get to do this. I will do the names and you get to give out the candles. So if you hear your name, we'd like you to come forward. And as it turns out, there are a lot of you. This isn't just the EA Council, this is Camp Scugog, this is Gibby, and this is Carols Around the Creche. So, Ellen Hucks. Don't be shy, come on up. Derek Wishart, Elaine McCarthy, Imogen Dixon, Jan Schley, Janny Mills, John Cowan, John Kimmel, John McCarthy, John Ryerson, yeah, just come on up and stand with us. Joy Fogel, Judy Langstaff, June Rowe, Catherine Cullen, Kathy Salisbury, Kevin Doe, Lori Kimmel, Lori Proctor, Linda Cook, Lisa Mainprize, Marion Boyce, Mark Richardson, Marlene Jones, Martha Boyce, Philip Blackford, Rosemary Clues, Sandy Giles Byrne, yes, Sue Innes, and Sylvia Dixon. If you think that they are not here, we know this too, and we will make sure they get their candles as well. This was kind of a surprise for all of them, but we'll just wait a second because I want you to see everybody. You please do that, yeah. You're welcome. Folks, these people embrace the difficulties of the lives of others and the hope that we extend to all of them. Please thank them. And hold still for a second while Joanne finishes getting your picture. Did you get the picture? Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you. You can be seated again. You're very welcome. Please acknowledge all that so many of you have given to each other. And your participation in our offering today is a symbol of that, and it is a celebration of all that we have so much to be thankful for. Please be seated, and I invite you to share with me in our prayers of the people. Powerful Christ, we are grateful that you came to us as a child, who grew out of a community that nurtured, supported, and taught you the way of your ancestors. You have asked us to do the same, to treat every child as we would treat you, to love every person as you have loved us. We are grateful that your power is rooted in love, not force. Your strength is displayed through community, not might. You have taught us to work toward a better world, where all of creation thrives and where every child matters. On this Orange Shirt Day, we remember Phyllis Webstad as a child and the stolen childhood of all the children forcibly raised by church-run institutions known as residential schools. We lament how these institutions stole from children the opportunity to grow in a safe and loving environment, stole from elders the opportunity to share their teachings and wisdom with younger generations, and stole from communities the opportunity to live intergenerationally. We mourn the children who never made it home, the communities that were destroyed, the broken hearts, the stories never shared, and the shattered relationships. We ask that you provide comfort to all who are seeking healing and who daily wrestle with the ongoing harmful legacy of these colonial institutions. Strength to all who name how colonial powers have harmed us as peoples and as a nation, often at great personal cost, and courage to all who are working toward reconciliation. Amen. As Jeremiah, may we who are filled with longing, sometimes skepticism, wishful, hoping, beaten down, unsure, hear these words. Is anything too hard for me? Thank you for watching. If you appreciate this content, please share it with your friends. Consider giving us a like, subscribing, and hitting the notification icon, as it really helps our channel. And as always, be good to you.